Oh, hello, and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. I didn't see that the timer had counted down. Well, it's the Masterclass edition. This is the episode every Friday where one of us tackles the Times cryptic crossword and explains, hopefully, how to do it in a helpful way, and in a way that improves your own solving. And in fact, I'm going to start today's episode by shouting out Mike King in Paignton, who at the age of 59 and 10/12 finished his first ever Times crossword this week, and Mike was kind enough to suggest that these videos had something to do with it. So Mike, really, really well done. That is a tremendous thing, a tremendous achievement, and I'm delighted for any, if we provided any assistance at all, that is a thrill for me. And I'll also say happy birthday to Ollie. Ollie, you've turned 40 today, and I know this because your partner Lisa wrote to us describing you as her favourite maverick, and telling us that she loves you lots and is looking forward to all the adventures you've got coming up this year. So Ollie, many happy returns. Now, oh, hang on, let me just check. I've got my dictionary software. Oh, good grief, it's actually in the right place as well. Right, so we've got a dictionary. I won't use the dictionary to solve the clues, but I might use the dictionary to explain the clues as we go along. And oh, I haven't looked at how hard this is. Let's have a look at the stats and see if we can see anybody that we... Misty Gris is real, 6 minutes 11. Verlaine, Matthew Marcus, 6 minutes 34. Okay, Jason James, 7 minutes. Chloe Hutton, 7 minutes 50. So it looks like this is slightly harder than usual without being totally and utterly monstrous. Let's view the top 100 and see if there's any... let's go down and see if there are any errors creeping. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a typist who's mistyped. Dean getting a puzzle wrong is very unusual. Dean's a very good solver. Anyway, there we go. So anyway, with that said and done, let's get cracking, and yeah, we'll see how we go. And is it, yes, in the right place. So, one across. When acting clumsily, journalist is overcome by remorse. When acting clumsily. It's a very well worded clue. So remember, all of these clues can be split into a definition, like a quick crossword clue, and wordplay. So wordplay might be an anagram, or telling you to put one word into another, or something like that. So constructing the answer. And one of the things that we need to improve at if we want to be good at solving these puzzles is to read the clues and be able to detect quite quickly which side of the clue is the quick crossword definition. It's normally the start or the end. There are some exceptions to that, but as a rule of thumb, you'll be right 90% of the time if you assume that the definition is either at the start or the end of the clue. So when acting clumsily, clumsily is a word that makes me think about, you know, things being spilt. So anagram, it's an anagram-y word, but how would the grammar work here? When acting clumsily, unless it was an anagram of when, but that doesn't feel right to me. Journalist, the most common synonym we see for journalist is ed, as in the editor of a newspaper. And that's another tip, is to build up your bank of short synonyms. So when we see journalist, my brain is just substituting the word journalist in this clue for ed as I read it. And ed is overcome by remorse. So if I could think of a 5-letter word for remorse. Why does my brain keep going to residue? I don't think residue is right. I don't know what that one is. That's not very good, is it? One down, sorry. Bloodless revolution for agents capturing base. Bloodless. That's an interesting word. Okay, now, so I don't know the answer to this, but I might be able to deconstruct the clue and tell you which side of the clue I think is the definition. So have a think about it yourselves before I tell you. I'm going to say I think that the definition in this clue is the word bloodless. And the reason for that is revolution for agents. Well, that's literally telling us to think of a word for agents, which could be a word like spies, or I'm actually thinking CIA, and to revolve it, to turn it back on itself. And then, yeah, and that's capturing a 4-letter word. If it was CIA, that captures a 4-letter word, which means base, and now I've got it. Because if we put in anemic, you can see that what we've got here is the revolution of the agents, the spies, the CIA, capturing the word mean. Now, if something is mean, it's base, it's sort of below the belt, isn't it? So, and that gives us anemic, and if something's anemic, it's a bit bloodless. It would be sort of, yeah, pale and wan. Now, let's go back to this then. When acting clumsily, journalist is overcome by remorse. I want this to be something like, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I can't do it. 9 across. What bacilli regularly can make you? Okay, so this is actually about as straightforward as a cryptic crossword clue will ever get. And we see this phrase regularly. It might be written as periodically, or on occasion, or evenly, or oddly. And what it's doing is saying, take the regularly occurring letters from the word bacilli. And if we take the odd letters, you can see we get B, C, L. Well, that doesn't mean anything. So let's take the even letters, A, I, L. Well, bacilli, I presume, are bacteria, and they can certainly make you ale. So it's a slightly unusual clue, because you might say, and you would be right to do so, well, hang on. You told me, Simon, that the definition would be at the beginning or the end of the clue. And yet the definition here is actually the whole word, isn't it? The whole clue, sorry. What bacilli regularly can make you is the definition of ale. If we just split the clue after what bacilli regularly, then can make you doesn't mean anything. It's not defining ale. We have to read the whole clue in order to understand the answer. So that is one of the exception, one of the 10%. Let's have a look at 2 down. Classic. Okay, if you ever see classic in a cryptic crossword clue, it's very often a classic work of literature. You can almost stop there and say, okay, this is 524. Can I think of any? I'm not thinking of the answer. I can't think of one. But I bet you it's something. This is going to be the name of a novel. Beauty peculiar to English female, only her. Oh, okay, maybe it's a classic. Helen of Troy is now what I'm thinking, actually. So I was wrong. I've totally misled you again. Classic beauty. Well, in classical literature, Helen of Troy was, of course, abducted by Paris. Well, Helen was Greek, I think. And abducted, became known as Helen of Troy, so was abducted by Paris to Troy, and that of course caused the Trojan Wars. And so why is the answer Helen of Troy? We can't just say, okay, well, classic beauty defines Helen of Troy. We have to understand why. So let's go to the rest of the clue. Peculiar. Well, if you treat something in a peculiar way, and we're thinking about this cryptically, what might that suggest? Well, it's going to mean an anagram. 2. Well, we've got the letters 2 in Helen of Troy. English is very often just E. We'll look at that in a moment in the dictionary. Female is very often F, which would be there, and only her. I presume that anagrams to the rest of the fodder that we need. So we need 11 letters. So only her is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is what we've got. We've got an anagram of 2, only her, E and F. Now, let's go to the dictionary. You can't just abbreviate any word in a cryptic clue to its initial, but some words are English. There we go. You can see under the head word E, or the head letter E, it specifically states the word English, and that is why English in the clue can be abbreviated to E. And if we go to F, we will find female, I'm sure. Probably. It should be here somewhere. Have I missed it already? No, there it is. Female. So again, that's why. And now we must, well, is this ashamed then, overcome by remorse? Oh, that's brilliant. Right, okay, so it's just very clever, this. So overcome by remorse is ashamed. Let's figure out why. So we go to the other side of the clue to find the wordplay. When? Well, if something happens, when and as are synonymous. Something happens as another thing happens. It happens when that other thing happens. So as is being used here for when. Acting clumsily, well, you may have heard the expression to ham it up, which means to act clumsily. So ham, and then the journalist is the editor, and that gives us ashamed. So the definition here was actually overcome by remorse. And look at the word is. So some people find it helpful. If you are very mathematical, one way to think about cryptic clues is as equations. So we've got the sort of first half of this clue doing some jiggery pokery. It's sort of, you know, an equation. It's saying, effectively, it's saying x plus y plus z is equals, so is doing the job of the equal sign, equals a word which means overcome by remorse. So anyway, that's how that was. What do we think this will be? Let's not look at the clue. Let's just have a guess. Mr. Bean. I'm going to go for Mr. Bean. Gracious thing. Unlikely to be Mr. Bean. Gracious thing that I should keep. My word, I think. Yeah, that's lovely. Okay. So, sorry, I sort of jumped to the answer then without explaining, but thing that I should keep. So, what my brain is doing as it reads that clue is it's trying to think from the context of M blank and then a four-letter word, what could be defined by any part of this clue. And thing that I should keep will just makes me think of, you have to keep your word, don't you? If you give your word, you should keep it. And, well, what does the word gracious mean in this? Well, gracious is an exclamation. If you said good gracious, you might say instead of that, my word. So it is a double definition. So this clue is sort of x equals y, where we split the clue. There's no equals, there's no word that does the duty of equals here. There doesn't have to be a word that does the duty of equals. That's an important thing to note. But here we have got sort of x being the word gracious equals y, which is thing that I should keep. Now let's look at 10 across. Frank has cut short walk, clutching right shoe. Frank has cut short walk, clutching right shoe. Right, okay, well, what would I guess is the definition here? Some of you will have solved this already, I haven't. I would guess that we're looking for a word for a shoe, a type of shoe. Although shoe is a verb, if you shoe something, you kick it, don't you? So it might be a phrase that means to kick something. So the way I'm reading it in sort of from the wordplay perspective is I need a short synonym for frank, as in honest, I presume. And then I'm going to cut short a word for walk, which might be a word like amble. And that's going to clutch an R, which is a valid abbreviation. I know it's a valid abbreviation for right, as in right and left. So L can be an abbreviation for left. And then shoe is going to be frank. Oh, bother, I don't know. Let's try this one. Is this minority? Britain for one. Day leading. Way finally. Okay. Now, actually, the way I've read that clue is very... It's probably instructive if you've never looked at cryptic crosswords before. Because I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to ignore images, to ignore normal grammatical form when you're reading the clues. It would be normal if this was a sentence and you were reading it in the newspaper, you would just read, Britain for one day leading way finally. Okay, so Britain's ahead in some way of other things. But the way I read it was Britain for one, i.e. what is Britain an example of? For one is sort of saying for example, isn't it? And then the wordplay here, so we cut the clue there, day, leading, way, finally. So let's deconstruct that. Days of the week, they all have abbreviations, don't they? Monday would be MON. Well, that looks very good here. Tuesday would be TUE, etc. Leading, well, we need a word that means leading then. And way, finally, is saying take the final letter of the word way. Well, that's why. And we need something that Britain is an example of. And Britain is an example of a monarchy. And there's the word arch there for leading. If you're the sort of arch villain, you're the leading villain, aren't you? So, monarchy. And then what's this going to be? Dutch. Oh, I don't know. Villain in film. I still haven't got it. Villain in film, shoot female. Interrupted by very short commercial. Oh! That's brilliant. I think I know this. It's one of my favourite films, or one of my favourite film series. Yeah. Oh well, I think this must be Darth Vader. Villain in film. Well, in the end, I mean that's a spoiler. Villain in film, shoot. So why is it Darth Vader? I think it's Darth Vader. The main reason is it's got the word ad in it. Interrupted by, well, very is going to be V actually there. And the short commercial is an ad, as in an advert. So it's got VAD in the middle of something. Shoot. If you shoot somewhere, you dart there. If you go somewhere very quickly, you might dart there, must shoot there. So we've got dart, her for a female, interrupted by VAD for the very short commercial. Darth Vader. That's the first time I've ever seen Darth Vader in a Times crossword answer, and I fully approve of it. Right, let's have a look at 15 across. Very loud goodbye from texter leads to slap. This is interesting. So I think that this will become more and more common over time. You know, sort of text abbreviations like LOL. And in this case, it looks like it's CU, which I presume, I've never written this in a text, but if you put CU, I presume it means CU as in SEEYOU. Very loud goodbye. So is it cuff? Very loud. If you saw that on a music score, it would be FF for sort of fortissimo or something. So FF, goodbye from texter leads. So leading our double F, we have CU, which would be how a texter might write goodbye. And that gives slap. Or to slap is to cuff, obviously. So cuff is the answer there. Well, we looked at this, didn't we? Frank. Worthy. If you're worthy, you're probably frank. Frank has cut short walk, clutching right shoe. I don't know. Shall we go for 5 down first? Grew flower. Or by the way, quick tip: if you ever see the word flower in a cryptic crossword, it quite often means a river. Why? Because if I pronounce flower differently, I would pronounce it flower, and things that flow are rivers. So be aware. Grew flower, one used for spray. Grew flower, one used for spray. I want this to be rose, but I'm very unsure about that. Well, my justification for rose is a bit tenuous. I would be treating the clue as it's a very unusual thing, actually, a triple definition. So if we stop the clue after the word grew, if something grew, it rose, didn't it? It got bigger. A flower, well, not a flower, but a flower is a rose. And one used for spray, isn't a rose that thing you put on the end of a watering can that sort of makes the water leave the can in a sort of sprayy way? That might be total nonsense. I'm not very good at anything practical at all. So that would be a thought, that it might be rose. If it was rose, what's this then? Frank has cut short walk, clutching right shoe. I want that to be warts and all now. So, which is obviously not meaning shoe, but so I'm changing my mind on what the definition would be, and I'm saying it would be frank. I quite like warts and all. It feels like it's a phrase that's got potential for cluage, i.e. there's a lot going on in that we could, you could cut lots of bits and pieces out of that. So how does it work if it is warts and all? So Frank has cut short walk. Okay. Oh, sandal is there. Oh goodness me! Right, this is very clever actually. Right, so what we've got is a cut short walk, and it wasn't a synonym for a walk that we needed. It was actually the word walk, and we're going to cut it short. So that gives us this W, this A, and this L. And that clutches RT, which is a valid abbreviation for right, as well as R. RT is also a valid abbreviation for right, and a shoe, which is a sandal. And that gives us warts and all, which means frank. I mean, that's very hard. It would suggest that my idea of rose is right. So let's go and have a look at 5 across. What's left? Well, is that residue then? My brain went to residue for something else, didn't it? This one. That would be weird. If this is residue, and yet my brain went to residue when reading that clue, because it had... I was looking at the ED and the IS, and in some way, it feels like they're in a word like residue. But anyway, let's see if this is residue. What's left is what I'm wondering about, whether that could be defined as residue. After touching electricity supply. Be careful with the word supply, because again, a bit like flower and flower, if I say the word supply differently, I might read it as supperly. And if you treat something supperly, you can anagram it, you can mould it. But what's left after touching? Oh no, it's not. It's the electricity supply is the mains, isn't it? So touching, if something is touching something, it's about it. It's on the theme of it, isn't it? And if you saw that on a memo in an office, it would quite often be written as re this subject, and then what would follow would follow. So re is used here for touching. The electricity supply is the mains, and that gives us remains, which is what's left. Now, Well, let's do these in order. 6 down. Government department. Okay, is this ministry is what I'm thinking. Yes, tax giving certain cars priority. So let's try and work out why. I mean, minis are certain cars, aren't they? And if you tax somebody, you try their patience. To tax is to sort of, to give someone a very hard problem, to try, to really test them out. So minis try is how the wordplay works. Now, Ida, maybe? Great part of Crete seen during holidays. Oh, it must be Ida, I think. I think this might be a hidden. I'm just saying, there's normally one of these in every Times crossword, but let's just imagine that Ida is defining great part of Crete, or defined by great part of Crete. I don't quite recognise that. I don't know enough about Crete, although I have been there once, but I was only small. But if it was Ida, you can see that seen during holidays. Well, if we look at the word holidays, you can see that during the word holidays, spelt out in order, is IDA, Ida. So maybe Great Ida or something is a part of Crete. I shouldn't say things like this in case it's not, but that's what I would put in. I have not got a better answer than that, but I definitely don't understand it. 8 down. In depression, collecting pounds in aid of English city. In depression. Yeah, okay. So, this, I think, is a reference to a northern city. Now, again, try and make up your... Well, I've sort of said. The definition here, I think, is English city. So how does the rest of it work? In depression. Well, to me, as a cryptic crossword sort of enthusiast, that's saying in a word, inside a word for depression. Can we think of any very short synonyms for depression? And the word I'm thinking of is sad. If you're sad, you're in a depression, aren't you? So the word sad is going to, is going to collect pounds. Now, pounds, as in pounds and ounces, is often L. And in aid of, if something is in aid of something, it is for it. And that gives us Salford, which I think is where Manchester United hails from, isn't it? And that's what I put in there. So 12 across. Pretended to beg money from speaker. Pretended. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is such a ludicrous word. I mean, if you can think of a word that fits here, you're probably right. Oh, actually, I've thought of another one. I've thought of psycho, and it's not psycho. But I think it's a word a bit like psycho. But this is a very common type of clue, and it's called a homophone. So what we're going to put it, I'm going to put the answer in, or what I think the answer is. I think it's pseudo. Now, if the answer is pseudo, and now I'm looking at that thinking, is it UE? I'm so bad now, it looks wrong. I think it's sort of like that. We'll get it from 13 down anyway. So how does this work? Well, if something is pretended, it's sort of sham, isn't it? It's pseudo. So pretended is the definition. And then to beg money from speaker. When you see a phrase like from the speaker, or we hear, or I caught, as in I caught it because I heard it, it's indicating a word or words that sound the same as other words, but are spelt differently. So if you beg money, to beg is to sue, and money is dough, D-O-U-G-H. To sue for dough is what it's saying. So pseudo gives us spell it differently. In this spelling we can get a word that means pretended. Now, I mean, we haven't got brilliant checking letters, but let's have a quick look at this. 16 across. Mother keeping small object in hatch. Mother. I mean, okay, so let's think about this. Do we know any short synonyms for mother? And there are a few, aren't there? Like mama, ma even, just M-A. Sometimes damn is used for mother, as in sort of... is that spelt dame when it... is that pronounced dame when it's referring to a mother? I don't think so. I think it is damn. So something like that. Keeping small object in. So we'd have to put a word for a small object inside our word for mother to give us a word that means hatch. Mother. Or, but bear in mind, we could read it the other way. We could have mother, i.e. a 10-letter word which means mother, and that word mother is going to keep a small object in a word that means hatch. And hatch is an awkward word because it could mean hatches in, an egg might hatch. But if you hatch a plan, you sort of invent, don't you? I don't know what that one is. Okay, so we better have a look at this and see if my spelling of pseudo is correct. Lay egg, fine on reflection, as one must eat. Lay egg, fine on reflection, as one must eat. Under, up, oh, I don't know. Lay egg. No, that's not good. Okay, that's this bit of the grid seems hard to me. Let's try 18 across. Outside help needed with repair surprisingly. Okay. I haven't got this, but I have actually I might have got it now. Yeah. Okay. So this word surprisingly is important in this clue. And again, we've seen it. It often is an adverb that sort of indicates an anagram. But if we treat the letters of things surprisingly, they might be in a different order to the order we expect. So they might be anagrammed. So what are the 10 letters that we need to anagram here? Now you would be complete, if you're thinking, well, with and repair are 10 letters. That is a perfectly good thought. But I guess that would mean that the definition was outside help needed. Because remember, needed here can't be... Well, actually, needed could be doing the duty of an equals. If you're saying a word for outside help, needed an anagram of with repair, that would probably be legitimate. But I don't know, the way I read it is that we need a word, a 10-letter word which means outside. And help, the word help is needed with the word repair in a surprising way to create that word that means outside. So the anagram fodder is help and repair. And I think what we're looking for then is the word peripheral. If something is peripheral, it is outside. And that looks like it's more useful because I'm going to get a good letter at the start of 18 down. Cream light sauce is preserved. Cream light sauce is preserved. Okay, I've got that one. This is a good clue. So, is, we saw it earlier, but is here is doing the duty of the equal sign. So this is a 7-letter word, which means preserved. So can you think of any short synonyms or ways of reading the rest of this? Cream, light sauce, or cream light and sauce. And the way I solved it was I thought about light source. Like, do I know any short synonyms for a light source? And I thought of LED. And all of a sudden the clue becomes very doable then. So I need a 7-letter word that means preserved. There's of this pattern. And if you preserve food, you pickle it. And the pick of something is the cream, is in the cream of the crop. The cream of the cream of the crop. So is this coyote then? Oh, it might be a predator. Modest earnings for salesperson. Potentially. Well, if you're modest, you're coy, aren't you? You're demure. So coy I like. Earnings for salesperson, potentially. Why is that OTE? Is this some abbreviation? I don't know. Is that earnings, as in, I don't know, earnings for salesperson? I bet there's an abbreviation there. I don't know. I'm certainly not changing coyote. It must be coyote. So let's look up OTE and see if it has an abbreviation. Oh, it does. The on-target earnings. The earnings of a salesman who achieves targeted sales or the equivalent. Wow. Okay, that shows my ignorance. But yeah, okay, that's clearly how the clue works. And we were right to stick with coyote. So let's try 25 across. Making disclosure about an old soldier's farewell. Can we think of any short synonyms for old soldiers? The word I'm thinking of is a veteran or a vet. Farewell, leave, making disclosure. Sounds like a word ending in ing, doesn't it? Making disclosure, leaking. Leave taking. That works. Leave taking. Leave taking is farewell, isn't it? And that is leaving around a vet for an old soldier. So that's interesting. No jokes about me at parties. They've all been told before, mostly by my sister. But making disclosure about an old soldier. What is the word an doing in this clue? Let's think about that. Let's read the clue again without the word an in it. Making disclosure about old soldiers' farewell. It means the same thing. So one thing that it's quite a good discipline to get into is to think, why is the word an in there? And it's because we need an indefinite article, but for this a to be clued. Because what we've got here is leaking, L-E-A-K-I-N-G, making a disclosure, leaking, about a vet. It's not just vet that we need in the middle of this, it's a vet. And that is why we need the word an in the clue. So important that the constructor must always say exactly what they mean. Now let's have a look at 28. Get down tips on symphony for composer. Well, I know what I want this to be, but I didn't know there was such a word as the 5-letter word I've incorporated in this. So what do you think the definition is here? And if you're saying, I think it's the name of a composer, you're quite right. And that's because the word for is doing the duty of the equal sign in this clue. So we need a 5-letter word that means get down. And then we need the tips of the word symphony. Now, what could the tips of the word be? Well, I think what the constructor is saying is take the first and the last letter, its extreme points. And that's S and Y. And all of a sudden, if I put that in, if you weren't sure about the composer, you probably are now. I think it must be Debussy, meaning that to debus is to get down. I have never heard that expression before, but I'm certainly not going against Debussy. Debus, to unload from or get out of a bus. There we go. So is this alb? white garment is an alb, a sort of priest's robe. Turning up in shrubland. Oh my goodness, is Ida wrong? Okay, that's... So, this would be a second hidden. Because the way that the wordplay works here is we look inside the word shrubland, it's a down clue. So if we turn upside down the word shrubland and look inside it, you can see spelt out ALB, alb, which is a priest's vestment or a white garment, I presume. I'm not changing this one, that's surely true. So let's have a look. A priest's long white sleeved vestment. So, but that there is a convention in the Times crossword which has been there for as long as I can remember, that there should only be one hidden clue in any puzzle. And now great part of Crete seen during holidays, that is also hidden. But I just don't know what this great part of Crete. Great. I'm just going to do a quick alphabet trawl on this one. The thing is, there can't be. Ira is the name of a person. ISA is the name of a savings account, but that would be I.S.A. It's not one 3-letter word. ITA is something. Can't remember what, but it's not a word you would get in the Times crossword. There are some words that are so weird that they would never be used. I don't have anything better than Ida. Great part of Crete. But I'm just surprised. That would indicate there are 2 hiddens in this one. Let's have a look at 17 down. I wondered if this was spot this, because when I looked at the checking letters, I could see spot this fitted. Place not so clean. Yeah. A place is a spot. If something is not so, it's less. And then if something is clean, it is spotless. So spotless is the answer there. 24 down. Unknown quantity, some clown. Unknown quantity, some clown. What? Coco is a clown. An unknown quantity. Normally when you see unknown in a cryptic crossword, is it zany? Oh, it might be zany. Well, normally when you see a cryptic unknown, it's referring to a mathematical unknown, so X, Y or Z. Now, that's given me an idea, because if it was Z, then some is any. Have you got some of that? Have you got any of that? And then to clown and zany, I think that might be a noun. Can you be a zany? You probably can. I certainly am sure zany is right. Let's have a look at what's part of noun. There is someone who plays the fool. An assistant clown or buffoon historically. So a zany might have been there in a court or something, along with the jester. There was the zany in the corner. Now, okay, so now we're getting into the bit of the puzzle I was struggling with. But look, we have a Z. Do we have any other unusual letters? No. I'm just wondering if this is going to aim to be a pangram. We haven't had J, we haven't had X, and we haven't had Q, so probably not. But let's be on the lookout. Let's try 21 down. Extremely enthusiastic. Gung-ho is my first thought here. Piece, well, a piece as in a weapon is a gun. First to highlight, boring essay. Ah, yeah, okay. So, I mean, that was very lucky. We had the G. Extremely enthusiastic just made me think gung-ho immediately. Piece is gun. First to highlight is the first letter of the word highlight. That's this H here. And that bores into a word for essay, and that's to go, as in to have a go, to have a try, because essay isn't just something you write at sort of school. It does actually mean to make an attempt. Let's go and have a look at that, because it does come up a lot, because it's such a misleading word. A trial, there we go. So it's an archaic word. Oh no, it's not. It's an attempt. It's not only archaic, an attempt. So that is why go and essay are synonymous. Let's try this one. 29 across. Left winger beginning to backtrack as requested. Well, I can think of a phrase that means as requested that would fit this pattern. I'll tell you what that is. That's to order. If something's to order, it's as requested. Left winger might be trot, as in a Trotskyite. Left winger sometimes in cryptic crosswords is red, as in somebody, on the communist side of the political spectrum would be an extreme left winger or a red. Beginning to backtrack. Let's just put to order in and see if we can justify it. Red root. Yeah, okay. So left winger is a red here, and the beginning of something is the root of it, as in its root cause, might be its sort of the start of it. So red root backtracks, so reverses, to give a phrase that means as requested. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky. Should we go for the short one? Husband turning to one during the match. I don't know what this is yet, but I want this to be about marriage. Husband turning to one during the match. It's trying to make me think of the husband turning to Channel 1 or something like that, watching something on television, but I think husband turning to one. Ah, I know, that's beautiful. What a lovely clue. Husband turning to one during the match. Okay. And this is a great example of how the constructors love to mislead you, because what you have to do to solve this clue, or to understand the answer that you might put in, is to cut the clue very precisely, and it's a really hard place to cut it, because it's so hard to read this clue as husband turning to one during the, and then separately match. But if you do that, it becomes easy. A match, as in a football match, is a tie, as in an FA Cup tie, for example. And the husband can be abbreviated to H, and that has turned to I, which is the Roman numeral for the number 1, during the. So the word the loses its H, loses its husband, and gains an I, and that gives us tie. So that's really good. I like that. Let's try 19. Uncertain period after expulsion of old member. Yeah. Okay. So this is a good cryptic crossword standard, if you like. The word member may make you think of member of parliament or member of a club or something like that. But very often it refers in cryptic crossword land to an arm or a leg. Let's have a look at the dictionary. Well, there's the answer, actually. A limb of an animal. So if we look at limb here, if you're in an uncertain period, you're in a period of limbo. And that expels its O, which is an abbreviation for old. Again, let's just make sure that we're all happy with that. It's right there. There we go. So limbo loses its O, and we get limb, which is a member. Now, 20 down. Stomach infection introduces source of irritation. Okay, I don't know this yet, but make up your own mind about how you want to read the clue. Where do you want to cut the clue? What's the definition that's defining this 7-letter answer? And, well, I was going to say, I think it must be stomach, a 7-letter word for stomach. And the way I read it is that we need then a 6-letter word for an infection that is going to introduce into it the source of the word irritation, which is the source of something, is its origin, its first letter, the I. But I actually thought of the answer. And then I thought, if you stomach something, you bear it. So I was wondering whether I was totally misleading you by saying this. Infection. What's going on here? It's almost a bit weird, that one. Let's have a look at 23. Delegating e.g. pundit for broadcast. Is this bugbear then? Source? Oh goodness, it is, isn't it? Oh, okay. I have totally misled you over here. Right. Sorry. Let's go back to this one. And the only reason I've got this one is I thought this might end in ing, and then I put the G here in my brain, and I could see bugbear would fit. But everything I've told you about this clue is wrong. If you stomach something, you do bear it, and that goes there. Infection introduces, so it's saying, think of a 3-letter word for an infection. Well, that's a bug. And introduce your word for stomach with that. So bugbear, and a bugbear is a source of irritation. Now let's go back to this one, which I think is an anagram. So delegating, that's our definition. And e.g. pundit is for broadcast. So it needs to be scattered. The word broadcast has a meaning which is to scatter. So we're going to scatter the letters of e.g. pundit. And we're going to come up with a word which means delegating, hopefully. If I can... what is it then going to be? Why can't I just... Deputing, is it? Is that what it is? Okay, that wasn't desperately simple, but I think if you depute something, you do delegate it. So deputing is what we're doing there. Now, have I ever looked at that one? No. General way to assess meaning. Yes. Lovely clue. General way to assess meaning. Very nice clue. So, again, what do you think the definition is in this one? It's not that easy. The way I got this, by the way, was I thought synonyms for meaning, and I was looking at the I and the T at the end of this word, and the thought I had was, well, I do know that the gist is the meaning of something, and that gave me enough to get the answer. So actually what we're looking for here is a 10-letter word for a general. Now a general in a military sense is somebody who strategizes. They are a strategist. And here we've got some classic crossword E's. Way. Way is a street. Often it's either going to be ST or RD in cryptic crosswords. So here it's ST for street. If you assess something, you rate it. And that takes the 4-letter word for meaning, which is gist, to give us strategist, which is the answer. And we've just got the two that we looked at before. So let's firstly just take a quick look at this without looking back at the clue. It was something to do with mother, wasn't it? Matter. No, I don't know. Mother keeping small object in hatch. Oh no, what on earth is that? Mother keeping small object in. Oh, sorry, my phone's buzzing at me. Okay, let's go back to this one because I can't do that. Oh, this is the one about laying the egg. Lay egg fine on reflection, as one must eat. Lay. As one must eat. why? I don't know what this is at all. An egg is a nit. Is that helpful? Fine can be abbreviated to F. You might see that on pencils. Fine can also be OK, though, although it doesn't look like it is here. On reflection, so that suggests a reversal. As one. As one would be united or something. Must eat. Oh, yeah. Okay, so how about uninitiated? Oh, that's lovely. Good grief. Wow, that's by far the hardest clue, and it's vicious and very clever. I mean, how it's so difficult to look at lay egg and not think of those words in the context of each other. But you mustn't. So the answer is uninitiated, but that's in a religious sense. If you are lay, you're not, you're not a cleric, are you? You're of the congregation rather than of the clergy, and that's what it means. That's why we've got uninitiated here, and it's something to do with united around knit. So knit is here. That's the egg. Fine is A1. Good grief. So we've got knit for egg. Fine, if you're A1, you're A-OK, aren't you? You're fine. And that's reversed because it's on reflection. And that as one, united, is eating our knit and our 1A to give lay, which is uninitiated. That's very hard. And I'm pleased to have solved it. But I haven't got this one now. Mastermind would fit. I like the thought of that. Why is it mastermind? If you hatch something, you mastermind it. You sort of invent it. Let's put mastermind in and then try and work out why it's mastermind. So, mother, mater. Oh, that's hard. So mater is a word for mother. Let's go and find that. There we go, mother. That's keeping in S, which is a valid abbreviation for small. I don't think it's in my dictionary, though, because this has come up before. But if you did see S on a T-shirt label, you would be in no doubt what it meant. It would mean small size, wouldn't it? So mater is keeping S for small. If you object to something, you mind. I mind you doing that. I object to it. And then mastermind is to hatch. And that is, I think, the puzzle solved. Is there anything that we were unsure? Oh, Ida, I'm not sure about. I'm really not sure about that. Wow, I've got nothing better. Let's submit without leaderboard. Certainly wasn't racing. And see if we've met. Oh, does that mean it's right? Or does that mean it's... I think that means it's right. I think that's just because that's where my cursor was. How can I check that? I don't know. I think that's what that means. I think it is correct. And you guys will have to explain to me why Ida is the great... Ida, that does ring the vaguest of bells about something to do with Greece. Ida. Isn't there a Mount Ida, actually? Or is that total nonsense? Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, now, so that's the run through of the proper cryptic. Let's... Does that mean I got it 100% right? Maybe it does. Let's have a go at the quick cryptic, which I'll try and do at speed to sort of illustrate that I'm not a complete muppet. But let's see how much muppetry there is today. Tramp following superfluous documents. File? Oh, I don't know. Ship crossing equator finally shows flag. Streamer is the answer there. Delivered new patent having lethal weaponry. That's some sort of anagram, I think. Oh, it's going to be an anagram of Oh, sorry. Don't know. Spatter lotion around elephant's foot. That must... I don't know what that is either. Chucker expel? Defective item. Oh, reject. Drink can girl briefly holds. What, martini or something? Yeah, that's probably Marie. Shortened with tin in it. Ceremony rite. Okay, let's just get this one done. Egret. Yeah, it's a hidden. And then Best Fool I led by Open University. Best out wit. If you outwit someone, twit is what's going on there. Have I looked at that? No. Ruined tub with prank going wrong. Ruined, it is... It's an anagram and it is... I don't know, can't see it. Staff drinking... Oh, that's going to be the wine, I think. Oh, nuclear? I don't know. Service break. Service. I don't know what's going on. What's going on with this? Fuel outlets, latter option. It's another anagram. Fuel outlet. It is a... Oh, is it petrol station? It might be petrol station. Petrol station. Ah! Can't type now either. Right, what's that ending in O? Eccentric. Weirdo. So is this R and R? Must be. And then this is something like ruined. Bankrupt, Simon. Goodness me, that's appalling. Okay, so what's that one? Bum. Oh, bumph. Gosh. I mean, that's just not a word you think of. Oh, this must be nuclear. I haven't understood why. Tortoise shell, perhaps. Tortoise. It's something like... It's tortoise something. I'm not sure it's tortoise shell. I don't think the anagram works. What can pull? Tow? Soldiers south of extended area. What can pull? Tow truck? No. Tow rope? Don't know. Coat of paint on road at regular intervals beginning to curb. Wow, don't know. Disturbed forged steel nut. Disturbed is... It's an anagram. Disturb, unsettle. Sorry, it would help if I could read the clue correctly. Daisy cow. Initially, cross. I want that to be oxeye. That's a type of daisy. Cow internally. I was wondering why. Periodically serve Andrew Duck. EV. Evade. It's all of the letters. Okay, pick. It's going to be peak. It's a homophone. Resolute chap overwhelmed by dodgy data. It's an anagram. Adamant, isn't it? Should have got that faster. A vowel or something. Coat of... Oh, anorak would fit. That's got K at the end. Tortoise something. It's got P in it, this last word. Tortoise pearl? No. Tortoise something. Reckless cad stupidly blocks madcap. What is this? Tortoise plant? Is that a thing? A tortoise plant? I've never heard of a tortoise plant. That can't be right. Charles throttling Oscar. In this chaos is the answer there. Chaz. Extremist in ultra. And then French team ignoring every English. Equip quip. Tough troops barely mentioned. Hang on. Parasite. And then what's this? Toaster. Oh yeah, it probably is toaster. What can pull soldiers south of extended area? I'm not sure actually. Tractor. I almost put soldiers. I was thinking eggy bread and things like that. Soldiers. Tract. Yeah, that's going to be right. Okay. So that was... Oh, I went for tortoise plant. I didn't think about that. Oh, it's right. Tortoise plant. I mean, that is so absurd. I have never heard of a tortoise plant. Tortoise plant, and then it's just defined as elephant's foot. What? Elephants. Where's elephant's foot then? Here. Hottentot's bread, a plant of the yam family whose rootstock resembles an elephant foot. Okay. Well, there we go. We learn something new every day. That was not easy. In fact, this is a pangram, I think. Where's the Z in it? It's got a J, it's got an X, it's got a Q. Does it have a Z? I bet it does. I just can't see it. It definitely looks like the constructor, Chico, has gone for a pangram here. Oh, I can't see the Z. Where's the Z? Naughty Simon's eyes. I mean, Bumph. That's vicious. Absolutely vicious at 1 across. But very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. Even if it didn't really show me in my best light, I still enjoyed it. And I learnt about an elephant's foot being the same as a tortoise plant. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do enjoy these videos, it's a special plea. I make this every week. If you could like the video or perhaps drop a kind comment in, it helps the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't understand the value of these puzzles, which are a bit specialist, because obviously you've got to be English speaking really to be able to solve them, and that does cut the audience down, and we understand that. But I know because of our feedback and the correspondence we receive, that for some people these videos, if they could double like them, they would. So we're trying to make sure that the algorithm doesn't do them too much of a dirty, and any help you could give us with that, we would be most grateful for. And let us know how you're getting on your cryptic journeys, and let's hope that there are more people like Mike who managed to solve his first puzzle this week. And thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.